I had this idea that I might want to become a monk, and then of course I wanted to try it out. Now is this period in my life where I'm not coming from anywhere or going anywhere really. I'm no one going nowhere. So why am I going to a monastery? So we moved here to Colombia. My wife and I moved here to Colombia. And then I don't remember exactly when, but there came a point where I was on the farm alone for a week and a half when my wife was back in Bogota. And I was meditating in the bedroom, a meter over there. And at some point I was just overwhelmed with a big urge of, I might want to become a monk someday. I might want to become a monk because if all of this Buddhism stuff makes a lot of sense, and if all of it makes sense, then becoming a monk seems like the most sensible option. Exactly if, how, why, and when, I'm happy to engage in a discussion about that at some other point in time, but at least at that point, in my perspective, it seemed to make perfect sense to want to become a monk. So at some point, just the option of wanting to become a monk opened up in my mind, and it happened at a very discrete moment in time. I was sitting, I was meditating, and suddenly it occurred to me, you might want to become a monk. But that of course comes with the idea of, but I can't be a monk and be married to my wife, and I like my wife. So that came with a huge emotional upheaval. I mentioned this to my wife when she came back, and it came with a lot of emotional upheaval for her too. I think that is a point in time where we both sort of ran into the fact that we like each other a lot, but we are both impermanent. So even if I don't go off and become a monk, I could very easily die right now. This could be the last minute of my life. I could have an aneurysm right now and be dead. But so could my wife, who's behind the camera filming, and so could you. You could die right now. Which means that if I base my happiness on my wife, like Billy is the light of my life, well, she could have an aneurysm and be dead. So she's probably not a solid foundation to base my happiness on. The desire of wanting to become a monk comes from a part of me. A part of me thought that this might be a very good idea. And I would be dishonest with myself if I were to deny it. And now is a good time to explore it. Because of course, the fact that part of me wants this doesn't mean that it's a good decision. We have no money. And at some point we have to start making money again. And if I do start making money, I'll start building a career. But if I want to try monkhood for a bit, or I want to try living in a monastery, I want to try that for at least a couple of months, because going for like a 9-day retreat or an 11-day retreat is just a retreat. It's a holiday. You don't really get to see the boredom or the reality of a life until you live it for a while. So then I would be starting to build a career, but then why would you interrupt that to then become a temporary monk for a while? That also makes no sense. So it seemed to be the best time to do it is now. Let's just go and see, right? So how do you, I have no idea what it's really like. This Buddhism stuff is really working quite well, and I like it a lot. And well, let's just go and live in a monastery for a bit. I think that's possible. So I just Googled and I found a monastery, and they had an email address and an email. And said, sure. So now I'm going. What I know about monastery life is basically you get up 5-ish, you meditate, and they have like a bit of chanting or something. Then you basically work until 11-ish. Which I think involves physical labor. They have a lake nearby where I think they do cleaning stuff. So at 11-ish, they have their one meal of the day. So you eat before noon, and you do not eat between noon and dawn. And then the afternoon is just open. So I think you just sit around and meditate a lot. And then in the evening, there's another service and group meditation, I think. 9, I think, is lights out and quiet time. And then one day in the week, just quiet. So you can't talk. Quiet. I have to follow the 8 precepts. I'm already following the first 5 and almost the next 3. So the 8 precepts are don't kill anything that you can see. as in that's big enough to see. So that also means don't swat flies or mosquitoes. It's fine to eat meat if it's offered to you, but don't be the one that kills. And don't encourage other people to kill, so you can't pay a butcher to get meat, I think. I have to ask the monks, it's confusing to me. I think if somebody offers you meat for free, you can go, thank you, and eat it. But I think if you pay a butcher for meat, then aren't you encouraging them to kill? Anyways, for monks it is irrelevant because they're not allowed to handle money. So don't kill, don't steal, I think is the second one. Just don't steal, which I've not particularly found too hard. Don't take anything that doesn't belong to you, basically. 3 is don't engage in sexual misconduct, if you're doing the 5 precepts. So that, like, don't cheat, don't sleep with people who can't consent, don't have sex with. Don't have sex with children, don't have sex with people who are promised to other people. So with the engaged or the married. And then if you change it into the 8 precepts, then no sexual misconduct turns into no sexual conduct. Okay. That includes masturbation. 4 is don't lie, which when it comes to big lies is easy. I've never been a particularly dishonest person. The little lies, that's a little harder, like slight exaggerations of how good you are, or slight exaggeration, if it's an exaggeration of your failures. So try to be really honest. And then the 5th one, so don't take intoxicants. So that's no alcohol or marijuana, which I haven't had a drop to drink since I think February. And I'm quite happy with it. So those are the first 5. Don't kill, don't steal, don't fuck, don't lie, and don't do drugs. And then you add 3 more when you go and stay with the monks as a lay guest. Don't eat between noon and dawn, which we're already trying. And then there's 2, I think, don't go to shows. I think basically what it would mean practically for me is don't watch TV. And I do watch some TV, so I don't watch a lot of TV, but I watch some Star Trek with my wife, and I sometimes put YouTube things in the background. So those things are right out. But of course, that's not particularly hard. I have to give on my laptop. I have to put my laptop aside, and I am sort of attached to my laptop. So that might be a challenge. And then the final one is to abstain from sitting on high seats or luxurious things. But that means like modesty when it comes to clothing and jewelry and perfumes. But that is super easy. I don't do those things. I've been sleeping on a mattress on the floor for as long as I can remember, which is about 4 years. The initial 2 weeks, I think are almost guaranteed, unless I try to actually set the monks on fire. I think they won't kick me out. Then for certain reasons, I don't know, they might say it's better if you go off and practice on your own for a bit and maybe later in life come back. In which case, I don't know if I'm going to come back to Colombia straight away, or if I'm going to go to the Netherlands and then come to Colombia soon, or if I'm going to go to the Netherlands and try to get a job and then come back to Colombia in 6 months, or if I go to the Netherlands forever and I make you come over in 6 months. All of that is like, but I'm really hoping they let me stay for 6 months. I think I'll be gone until October, November, and you'll still be seeing videos of me appear. Oh, my ghost. That's all I really know. I don't have a lot of background. What I know is that I really like this Buddhism thing. I really like this meditation thing. I would like to pursue it further, very seriously. And I think that staying in a monastery will help. And I'm just going to see what kind of advice they give.